Wait, let me see if the volume's working. Wait, speak.
Yo, yo.
Yeah, it's good. It's good. Go ahead.
Okay. Yeah, so Destroyer, I'm going to be taking the position that the mind is material. You're going to be taking the contrary. So would you like to present your argument first?
Oh, it's up to you. I don't mind.
Yeah, I would like you to present your argument first and let me know if my mic is ever cutting out or something, because I have terrible Wi-Fi up here.
Who's Joe?
Anyways.
One sec.
Okay.
Hold, I got it.
Okay, sorry.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, how much do you want me to do? Because I could go for a while, or I don't know how long you want to do this. How long do you want? Because I could.
Yeah, let me think. Okay, Sarugi or Kyo, can one of y'all set like a 30-minute timer? We can do it for like 30 to 45 minutes if you would like. Or we can like limit it to like an argument timer. Like you present one opening statement, and then a second and a third, and we can limit it to 3 opening statements for each position.
Okay, I mean.
Okay.
I could present like three arguments or so, or
yeah, you can make 3 arguments for your position, so you can go first. Go ahead.
All right, I'll try to be brief, but as you might be aware, this stuff is kind of complicated and deep, and there's a lot to say. But so I'll start with the well-known knowledge argument, which originates from Frank Jackson in his paper Epiphenomena Qualia from 1984. And the basic idea is something like this, right? If everything, or at least the mind, is material, right, then someone who knew all the material facts would just know all the facts, right? Or at least all the mental facts, right?
Are you talking about Mary's thought room process, or like you talking about the thought room test?
Yeah, but do you want me to just present it, or do you want to? Is this like a back and forth?
Because if you're talking about Mary's test, then the reason why I disagree with it is because all I think that entails is that there is a limit to what facts can be achieved or how you can achieve a specific fact on, like for example, colors. I think you can only achieve that fact or experience by virtue of actually seeing this color thing, because it would be a physical fact, or this basically the nature of the fact.
So hang on. I mean, I agree, but that's not. That's actually what the argument claims. But hang on. I thought I was going to present the arguments, and then you would go. And then
go ahead.
I don't know how you want to do it. If you want to just kind of go back and forth at this point.
No, that's fine. Go ahead.
Okay. Yeah. So the idea is that someone who knew all the material facts would know all the facts, or at least all the mental facts. But then, yes, you're right. We're talking about Mary's room. Sometimes as it's called, the knowledge argument. But the point is that it's possible that, say, some very advanced physicists and brain scientists and so on could know all the material facts about people, but themselves be colorblind, right? So maybe they're just in a black and white room where they haven't seen things, or they're just colorblind. They can't see any color at all, and so they wouldn't know all the facts about color experiences, or so they wouldn't know all the facts about experiences generally, right? There'd be stuff about those things that they'd be missing. And we can see that they would learn something about color experiences if they were to, say, gain color vision and go, and see things. They would learn about the qualitative aspects of color experiences, what it feels like, what things look like, and so on. This shows that there are certain facts about experiences that someone who knew all the material facts would not know. And so it's not the case that everything is material. In particular, there are mental facts about various experiences, qualitative aspects, which are not included among the material facts. And so the conclusion is that materialism is false.
Yeah, so I heavily would disagree with that argument, because I think it presupposes the fact that this is an immaterialistic fact or anything along those lines. What the actual solution to that problem is, and you would just say it's not possible for someone who is colorblind to know all materialistic facts, but instead there's a limitation to how you're able to achieve the fact of, for example, qualia of color. So what you just said is actually a non sequitur, but within that analogy or that test, I just don't think that's actually sequitur at all, and I don't think that hypothetical is possible.
So you said a few different things here. You don't think the hypothetical is possible. I don't know which part of it would be impossible. Which aspect of the hypothetical would not be possible?
Yeah. I'm saying that you were saying with any possible scenario, this person can know all materialistic facts, but not know but when they get color, or when they get color vision, they're able to experience something new. I'm saying all that means is that they don't know all materialistic facts, and instead they know everything external to the experience of color itself, which is completely reasonable. It would be impossible for them to know all materialistic facts, since we know color is a fact that is materialistic.
Yeah, but they would know the stuff about color in materialistic terms, in physical terms, right? So they'd know about wavelengths, they'd know about the optic nerves and so on. They'd know about brain functioning.
I mean, I disagree
If
though.
if that's what the material stuff is, they'd know all about that stuff, right? The point is
No, the
that they
problem
wouldn't
is
know
the reflection
about
or
the
what you
mental
see
stuff.
itself is going to be something distinct from every other fact that you would know around it. So let's say, for example, you have a circle, and then you have like a ball in the middle. So all the materialistic facts is what they would know about the circle and everything around the ball, but the ball itself is that experience in which is materialistic. But instead, there's only a limitation to how you're able to achieve this fact, which is color vision itself. So knowing
Yeah,
all
but
the
if
neutrons and all the
no,
color vision, knowing all the neutrons and all the brain function itself won't be a justifier for why you're able to see this color vision. You're able to see this color.
no, if if the color experiences were among the physical things, right? Say they're part of brain functioning or something, whatever. Then that's included among the stuff that they would know about, right? They'd know that's part of the
Wait,
brain scientists, part of the physical scientists that they would have known even absent seeing things.
wait, Detroyer though, you're not understanding, because if you were, let's say you have a box, the only way you can understand what's inside that box is by opening it. That's what I'm applying here and saying, well, they can know everything that is able to be grasped without color vision. However, sensory experience or this specific color or what it looks like can only be achieved via sensory experience. So we can would you like to move on? I believe this is going circular.
No, but that's the argument, right? The argument is that you can only know about these things, say, by having those experiences. The
Yeah, I
point is
believe
that
sensory experience is physical.
if they're merely material things, then
Yeah, I'm just
wouldn't
saying,
that shouldn't
yeah,
be the case, right? Because
hypotheticals
they're just
impossible.
material things that you can investigate and understand in the lab.
Okay, let's conclude then. I think that just went circular. Would you like to go and present another argument?
Sure, yeah.
Okay.
So I'll give an argument from intentionality. So Franz
Mhm.
Bertrand once remarked that intentionality is like the mark of the mental. So if you're not familiar, intentionality is it's basically like aboutness, right? That something can be about something else. I have beliefs about the weather, for example. So
Mhm.
that's my belief being about something in the world. Right?
Mhm.
And that's just a key and fascinating aspect of our thoughts. They can be about other things. We can think, emote, imagine, talk about a great many things. Now, this is a feature that seems at best implausible to attribute to material things.
Mhm.
We do not look at a swirl of sand, for example, and question whether that swirl
Wait, can you
is
repeat that last
about the
part?
weather.
We don't look at what?
Right? We don't
Yeah, I
look at like a
apologize.
swirl of sand, you know, just it doesn't matter, just like whatever.
Okay.
You don't look at a wave of water, you know, and question whether that material thing is about something else.
Uh-huh.
It's just the swirl of sand or the wave of water. It's a particular thing, as all material things are. Um, now, you might say that, well, hang on, there's some material things that we think are about other things, maybe books, pictures, you know, maps, etc. However, they're actually not, strictly speaking, about other things by themselves. They have a kind of derived intentionality because we impart meaning on them, right? We associate them with things and so on. The intentionality
Wait,
they have as a result
so
of
in summary, are you
our
saying that?
mental intentionality, not intentionality of material things
I don't
themselves.
think I'm
But so
following.
just
Wait,
quickly, the basic idea of the argument they're making here is that intentionality is a mental feature. Physical things, material things just don't have that feature. They're just the material things. They're not about other things.
yeah, I
And
don't think I'm
so
following. I don't think
mental
I'm
things are
following.
not material things.
Well, yeah, I don't think I'm following the argument. When it comes to mental faculties, I believe that's something inclusive of the brain in response to the other stuff. Are you simply saying that we base materialistic things off of our imagination, which is seemingly abstract?
No, I'm not even sure what you're saying. Don't think I said something like that though. Maybe you
Okay,
could
can you
clarify? Or do you want me to clarify the argument?
yeah, can you clarify the argument, please?
Yeah. Well, I mean, again, the basic structure of the argument is this. Mental things, including like thoughts and beliefs and so on, can be about things, right? They're sometimes about other things.
Huh?
Material things are just not about other things. They're just like material things, like collections of atoms and so on. And so mental
I don't
things
know
are
about.
not material things. Right?
No, that's not true. Okay, so now the reason why that just isn't the case is because one, the reason why mental things, quote unquote, aren't about other things is because it's something that is not external to our body or mind. So we have materialistic things which is actually capable of being about other things and incapable of being about other things. Both is fine. Now, if this
What?
is the case, hold on. Yeah, let me clarify. So the mental state is something we cannot change manually. Therefore, we cannot base it off of other things. It's something that comes into existence. And the other thing, which is the materialistic things in the world, is something external to the mind in which we can bring it into existence or bring it into its new form, therefore base it off of other things. So I don't believe the conclusion follows. Hello?
Sorry, I had to deal with something for a second. Can you repeat the last 30 seconds? I
Yeah.
only got part of it.
I said the mental state is something that's internal. I said the materialistic things in the world is something external to our body. We cannot manually control or form mental states. However, we can manually control or form materialistic things outside of our body. If that is the case, then the conclusion that, well, we cannot base mental states off of something while we can base materialistic things in the world off of something, therefore the mental states are abstract, does not follow. Because there is reasonable
I
cause as to why these things are
think
distinct.
you're following. Yeah, that don't see what that has to do with my argument at all. So maybe I'm missing the point you're trying to make. Yeah, so
You can
of course, on
clarify.
your view, that mental stuff is internal to us, and the other physical stuff is external to us. So what?
No, I'm saying that if your argument is that materialistic things external to our body are capable of being based upon something else, while mental states aren't, therefore mental states are abstract, I'm saying that does not follow, in which I gave a reason as to why that would be the case.
Oh, I'm not just saying that. Look, it's all the material stuff, apart from stuff inside of us, cannot be about things. Therefore, all material stuff, including the stuff inside of us, cannot be about things. If that's what you're saying, that I'm saying that's incorrect. I'm making a general point about material stuff that they don't have this feature. That
I know, and I'm saying
neurons and collections of neurons and whatever's going on inside of us too.
I don't think the neuron stuff matters at all, because we are able to take property X, property Y, and turn it into property C, or form it into property C. And what I'm saying is that you are trying to make a generalization about materialistic things, and I've explained why you cannot make such generalization by virtue of the nature. So we can move on with that if you'd like to as well.
I don't see what point you've made there. Again,
so would you like to move on? Because I think this is also going circular.
Well, I would like to know what point you're making, because it just doesn't seem to be relevant to the argument that I made.
I mean, bro, I clarified
present...
it 3 times. I don't know how to put it into simpler terms. I don't know.
Okay. I mean, sure. We can come back to that, and I'll make a third argument if you want.
Oh, yeah, sure.
Yeah, so I was going to make the basic kind of zombie argument as developed by David Chalmers. You might be familiar. The basic idea is this. If it's conceivable that a material duplicate of a conscious person is not conscious, then that at least gives us some reason to think that consciousness is possibly not identical to any material part of the person. Yeah, if you haven't heard this before, it might be a bit complicated. So
no, I have.
Okay, if it's conceivable that a material duplicate of a conscious person was not conscious, so there could be a zombie version of you, which is materially just exactly like you, but it is not conscious. It doesn't have any qualitative experiences or anything. If that's conceivable, that at least gives us some reason to think that it's possible, right? That zombies like that are possible. But if they're possible, then it's also possible that the mental stuff and the material stuff is distinct, right? But if it's possible that they're not identical, right, that they're distinct, then they just are distinct, right? Because identity is necessary. Right? You can't have something that's just possibly identical to something else.
Okay.
And so the fact that they're conceivable is evidence that they're not identical, right? And so the material stuff is something other than conscious stuff.
Yeah, so the argument goes as follows. You are able to conceive of a body without a brain, therefore the brain in the body or the mental state in the body are distinct. Is that correct?
No. The exception includes the brain.
I meant to say the mental state. Hello?
I meant to say the mental state instead of the brain?
Yeah.
Sure, yeah. We're able to conceive of something which is materially just exactly the same, but mentally different in that it doesn't have any mental experiences.
Okay, so the reason why I disagree with, before we get into the mental experiences stuff, the reason why I disagree with our argument is because that also doesn't entail the conclusion, because the reason why it's conceivable is because, yes, the brain, that being synonymous with the mental state, is distinct from the body. It does not entail that the nature is distinct itself, which would be like the physicality of it, the non-physicality of it. So the reason why we're able to conceive of this is because, the reason why we're able to conceive of this thing is because there's no contingency between the brain and the body itself. By body, I just mean the outside, or basically the exterior form or field that you have that is covering you. By the brain, I mean the thing within inside you, and which controls the body, sends all these neutrons, etc. So if we're able to take a brain out of someone, for example, and their body is able to remain, that is completely reasonable to say that the body and brain are distinct. However, does not entail or the conclusion of the brain being abstract and the body being physical, that conclusion does not follow.
I'm not saying, no, I think you're confused about the argument. I'm not saying that, we could remove the brain and then show that the body and the mind are not identical because the resultant body would not have a mind. Of course, if you think that the mental stuff is to be identified with some, brain stuff, then yeah, of course, removing that would remove the mind. But the point of the hypothetical is that it remains entirely the same, right? It's all materially identical, right? All the brain, all of the whatever's going on in the body is left in there.
No, that's not what I mean. I'm saying that, okay, you have to define a brain or you have to define the mind because you're trying to say the mind is immaterial. And I don't think we have a consensus on what the mind is. But yeah, before we get to that, let me address what you just said. So all I'm saying is that the reason why it's conceivable is because the body itself and the brain itself are able to be distinct from each other, as in you do not need one for the other. So the body is able to remain the same without experience, without being able to run, walk, etc., without bodily functions or normative functions.
No. You're still confused with the argument. I'm not. When I say the body, I'm saying everything in the body, right, including the brain. Right? So just keep it all the same. I'm not trying to imagine that you can have the same body without a brain. That's not the hypothetical at all.
Okay, I just think it's impossible.
You just think it's impossible that you can have a material duplicate without that's not a mental duplicate?
I think it is impossible for you to have a body without a body. If you're saying that the brain is the body, or a part of the body at least.
No. The brain is the part of the body, right? So yeah. Of course, it's be impossible to have a material duplicate of you that didn't have a brain because you in fact have a brain. But the claim is that it's possible that you could have a material duplicate of you that doesn't have a mind, that doesn't have cognitive experiences.
What do you define the mind as? Because I'm using them synonymously.
You're using brain and mind synonymously?
Yes, and I'm saying even by your definition, I'll address why the argument doesn't follow. So what do you define the mind as, if I still disagree with it?
So I'll answer that first, and then I'll explain why your synonymity claim is just false. So my mind, I don't have anything super rigorous in mind, but I'm imagining I can sort of introspect and think about the experiences I'm having right now. I'm including things like that, my visual experiences, my reflections, my imaginings, my...
Hold on. In summary, you're defining the mind as the medium which allows you to have experiences?
I didn't say medium. I'm just associating certain sorts of experiences, thoughts, and so on that I can introspect on as mental. Right? Those are the things that I'm counting as mental, roughly.
Yeah, I know. I'm saying that the mind is the fact in which allows you, or the state of being in which allows you to experience these things or have these things, which is the experiences, the thoughts, etc.
No. It could be something else, which is facilitating those experiences, but it's experiences themselves, mental stuff that I'm counting as.
You're saying experience itself is the mental state?
Yeah.
So, I kind of disagree. Sure, I can explain why your argument doesn't follow even with that definition.
Well, I don't know what else we'd be counting as mental stuff. It's experiences and thoughts and beliefs and so on. Those are mental phenomena.
I believe
and I could point those introspectively.
No, I believe a mental state or the mind itself is a medium which allows those things to occur. But I'm saying even by your definition, the argument doesn't follow because the reason why we're able to conceive this thing is because we don't need sensory experience to exist. We don't need to be able to form thoughts. We have multiple people who have, for example, had a halting consciousness, but we're still able to exist. At least their body is capable of doing so. So if that is the case, that doesn't actually entail anything in terms of the nature of the mind, of it being abstract or material, but that would just entail a distinction, which I agree, but that distinction doesn't have to be correlated to the nature itself.
Yeah, that's none of that is a response to the argument, which I still don't think you understand. I don't know if you want me to kind of elaborate on the argument, or what do you want me to say at this point?
I kind of do think it's a response, though. I just we can continue with that if you want to, because I can get my argument.
Yeah, I don't know. Maybe we could. I could elaborate on this, or we could go into some arguments you want to make, or we can. I don't know. It's up to you.
Okay, sure. You can elaborate on it once more. If I believe that my prior response was already something that was adequate as a defeater, then we can move on to my argument.
Sure. Yeah. So again, the point is we can imagine a world which is very similar to the actual world, right? There's human beings on a planet, and they're doing all the things that we take them to be doing, more or less. Except that we can suppose that there's an important difference between this world and the actual world, that some or all of the creatures at that world are not conscious. They just don't have any mental states. Now they're still like, if you looked at them under a microscope and did a dissection or like looked at their anatomy, it would be all the same. They'd have the same brain, they'd have the same neural processes, and they'd have the whatever. But the point is that they don't have the mental states. They don't have any qualitative experiences. And the point is that if that's possible, then it's possible that the mental stuff is not identical with material stuff, right?
Okay, yeah.
And if it's possible that they're not identical, then it follows that they're not identical.
Okay, let me say this. Okay. So one in response to that, this is going to be like a repetition of my prior argument, but I'm just going to add clarity onto it and elaboration. You don't have to attack it if you don't believe it's a defeater. So I believe conceivability is limited to a knowledge when it's like relative to the person. So the reason why we're able to conceive of this thing is because we do have knowledge on people who are capable of existing without sensory experience. So the knowledge you just gave does not entail the conclusion that the mind is abstract or the mind is immaterial, but instead it just entails the conclusion that there is a distinction between the mind and the body, which does not entail as distinction within the nature, but entails some type of distinction in which we do not know the distinction because we do not know of the mind. So experience and all that are not abstract at all. I do believe we are going circular once again. So do you want to address that or do you want to continue?
Yeah, I'll just make a couple of very quick remarks and then we can continue. Yeah, okay. You said something about how we can conceive of someone who has a body but not a mind. That's correct, but not that's not relevant to the argument. Like you can, of course, you can imagine someone who's dead, right? There's a body there, it's not a mind. Unless you're saying the same thing, that we conceive of them as being a physical material duplicate but not having a mind, then you're just granting the premise of my argument.
Yeah, I know. That's what
I don't see how that's a refutation.
No, the problem is that's under the hypothetical in which the mind isn't okay. From the observable facts, or the brain, or the body, like by body, I mean the exterior part of the field that's covering your neurons, all that shit, all all your vessels, all that. So those are the observable materialistic facts. Something that is non-capable or that is not capable of being observed would be the mind itself. Therefore, we cannot make a true apt claim on its nature. So we can conceive of this thing.
You're saying we can't observe the mind?
I don't know, but hold on before we get into that. So this is the case. Therefore, we
can material stuff we can't observe. Okay.
No, that's what I'm saying. I'm saying that since we can conceive, since conceivability is limited to knowledge, knowledge is gained via like basically empirical basis. It's like sensory experience. If you were to believe in that, that means that we can only take or consume in the materialistic facts in which are observable. We cannot observe the mind. Therefore, argument would follow.
If the mind were I don't agree with the main inference there, but I find it unbelievable that you would say that we can't observe the mind. If the mind is some material thing, especially if it's some like brain process or something, of course we could observe that, right? So I'm kind of amazed that you would say that.
Well, no, I'm saying if you believe that, I know I agree that, and I'm saying I can observe because I agree that the mind is materialistic, but you cannot observe something which is immaterial. It's really impossible. But hold on, I'm saying that.
I don't agree with that.
I'm saying since conceivability is limited to knowledge, we are by your argument or within the hypothetical, we can observe the materialistic things in which we are capable of seeing visually, which would be the body, like the exterior part, and the brain itself. But within this hypothetical, we cannot observe the mind itself. Then my argument would follow.
Right, but so I disagree on both parts, right? First, the fact that the mind is immaterial, if it is, does not entail that we can't observe it. In fact, I think we can, to some degree, observe it. I can introspect, for example. That's a sort of observation. I would agree that if you're talking about observe in like a visual sense, I don't think we can see
what's the
minds. You know what introspection is? Like when you're thinking about your own thoughts and feelings and so on. I can
no, I don't think you can.
I can sort of attend to experiences that I'm having now. Like I can sort of attend to the fact that I'm in pain.
I'm saying observe the nature, not things contained within that quote unquote thing, and which opposed to nature itself.
I'm not sure what the nature talk is adding. There's these things which are experiences.
By the nature, I'm talking about the essence of something, like its main relevant property, which would be it being abstract or it being property. I mean, it being physical, etc. Shit like that.
If you're just talking about the fact of whether it's material or immaterial, I don't see what.
Yeah, I'm saying that your hypothetical presupposes this fact, though. Within the hypothetical, you're saying we're able to conceive off of that. I'm saying within the hypothetical, no one has seen within the hypothetical, the only thing that is known is the body being a materialistic fact. we don't know if the body within the hypothetical is, or we don't know if the mind within that hypothetical is a immaterialistic fact or a materialistic fact. Therefore, it would not be inclusive of that generalization.
No, that's you're just not understanding the hypothetical, because the point of the hypothetical is just it's conceivable that it's a material duplicate and not a mental duplicate. In fact, it has no qualitative aspects at all. And if you're saying like, well, we can only empirically confirm the material aspects and we don't know whether it has the mental ones. Well, actually, I think that would be support an argument for my position, but for relevant purposes, it's just not addressing the argument because that's not the hypothetical.
Okay, can you type out the syllogism? Even though I already defeated it, I don't want to move on without clarifying that that's the argument that I think it is.
Okay, sure.
So,
I mean, I'll
do
type up
you
a
have
very
it?
basic form.
Yeah, do you already have it typed out? Because if you
No,
don't,
I don't.
type it out.
Is
Is it long?
No. I'll give a very simplified version of it.
Okay.
Should I type out what a zombie is? Okay, well.
Mm-hmm. I'm going to list out all my disagreements. If you believe you already addressed it, then we can move on.
Sure. One sec. It's a little bit longer than. One more second.
Keo, he's just typing out the argument so I can make sure I understand it.
All right, here's one statement of it. Kind of.
Oh, okay. Yeah, okay, so I was right then. Okay, let's see. Oh, yeah, that just means that their entire.
Oh, sorry, I misstated the conclusion.
Wait, yeah. For the first premise, all that means is that the part of the duplicate in which is copied, or the part of the materialistic facts in which is copied, is just separate from the mind, which makes the mind distinct, but not in terms of abstractness or physicality.
Wait, but we're copying all the material stuff, so that's by hypothesis.
Yeah, that just
So if you're
goes
saying
into
that it's not part of the stuff that's copied, then it's not part of the material stuff.
that just means the hypothetical is impossible once again.
So you're saying that it's not possible to have a material duplicate that's not also a mental duplicate?
Saying that it is not the case that it's possible for someone to be materialistically duplicated, but their consciousness is not there.
Yeah, so you're saying that zombies are impossible, and I would wonder why you would think that, because I mean, I can imagine them. There's no contradiction in supposing there's such a thing.
Wait, okay. So one that presupposes it's possible. And second, you saying you can imagine it's not
presuppose.
Imagining it.
No, I think imagining it is at least some guide to what's possible.
No, I'm saying that you saying you can imagine it doesn't mean that you can actually imagine it. And secondly, I believe that a consciousness can be there without it actually functioning, basically, like empirically, I should say.
Sort of functioning empirically.
Yeah.
If you're just pointing out again that whether it has whether the consciousness is there might make no empirical difference. Like we might not be able to detect whether it's there, sort of irrelevant to the argument.
Okay, then we
In
can
fact,
continue then.
that would support. I would make an argument based on that for my position. I did want to say something else very quick based on something you said earlier, which was that your understanding. Correct me if this is not what you said, but you said something like your understanding like brain and mind to be kind of synonymous or something like that.
Yeah, I don't think that's relevant because I think I pointed out why your argument would be flawed even if I were to use them synonymously, or unsynonymously, I should say.
Well, no, you didn't. But also, I mean, I can
Yeah,
explain
yeah,
what's
I know,
wrong with the synonymity claim, but if you don't want to focus on that, we can move on.
Yeah. Okay, so I can give my argument. If I would just apply I'll just apply reductio ad absurdum. If the mind is immaterial, then it tells that atemporal causation is logically impossible. Therefore, the mind is material.
So you're saying that an immaterial mind requires atemporal causation.
Yes.
Atemporal causation is impossible, so the mind is not immaterial. I reject both of those premises. I don't think why would the mind being immaterial require atemporal causation?
Yes, because
That's
your
just
definition
not
of the mind
correct.
would be because your definition of the mind would be a thought process and or sensory experience. Sensory experience requires you to be experiencing something in the first place. Experience is something that requires temporal action. Therefore, that would entail atemporal causation because the mind is if the mind is immaterial, then tells there's no physicality. If there's no physicality, that means it's unsubject to physical change. There's no argument for metaphysical change existing. Therefore, time is the governing of physical change.
Hang on, time could be the governing of physical change, but it could also be the governing of mental change. I don't see why you can't have a mental thing in time.
Okay, if it is the case that time is governing mental change and not physical change, that means there's a distinction between mental change and physical change, which would have to be metaphysical change. So what is the argument for that?
No. I didn't say not governing physical change. All change could be temporal, right? That might be a conceptual truth.
I'm saying that, oh my God, I'm saying that your position is the mind being immaterial, which means it lacks physicality, correct? Let's go step by step. Is that correct?
It's not material stuff, yeah.
Yeah. So if that is the case, to be non-physical means you're not subject to physical change. I'm saying there's no argument for metaphysical change. Therefore, if it lacks physical thing or if it lacks physical properties, it cannot go do temporal action because temporality is governing physical properties and temporal or physical actions.
But that's just a logical error, right? Of course,
Yeah, exactly.
temporality could be. Hang on, no, you're making a logical error. Yeah, I'll try to spell it out. It's good if it's true. I'm fine granting this that temporality is governing physical change. It doesn't follow that temporality only governs physical change. That would be a logical mistake, right? It could govern change altogether, no matter what sort of change it is, physical or otherwise.
Wait, no. The problem is, I'm saying that all change is physical. We observe
all
time
change
by
is
virtue.
physical. I don't accept that.
Okay, so
why would I accept that?
Yeah, exactly. I'm asking for the argument for metaphysical change. That's what I told you before.
I didn't say metaphysical. What metaphysical change?
Okay,
There's change in physical stuff. There's change in non-physical stuff.
Yeah, non-physical change would be metaphysical change. So I'm asking, what's the argument for non-physical change?
Well, the argument for quote unquote non-physical change is that there's reason to think that there are non-physical things that change. So I would cite the arguments that I made or others. I'd just be repeating some of my arguments for non-physical things, i.e. mental states.
I didn't hear you. What did you say?
I would just be repeating some of my arguments for non-physical things.
Okay, then so we can continue. Then we can continue. That's completely fine.
Well, I'm going to be careful about something here, right? Because if you're just saying that, like, oh, we don't have reason to think that there are non-physical things that change. Okay, then I'm going to start to argue for those things. If you're saying that, if you're trying to make some sort of conceptual point,
arguing
in principle that there can't be some non-physical thing that changes, then your argument just doesn't show that. Right?
First I'm arguing in deduction and I'm arguing logic, and secondly, if you just were to repeat your arguments that you gave previously for the position that metaphysical change can exist, then I think we can just end it off here.
Well, I mean, if your argument is just like a challenge to provide evidence that these things can exist or do exist, then okay, then I think I would meet that in the way that I would present my arguments and so on.
Yeah, okay,
if your argument is supposed to be a positive argument to show that these things don't exist or can't exist, then you haven't done that, right?
I think
you haven't made a positive argument.
Logically contradictory. It just defies the law of non-contradiction.
What's logically contradictory about non-material things changing?
Because I believe that time. I believe it is the case that time is shown via physical interaction.
Time is shown via physical interaction.
Yes,
I agree that you can show.
I think it's biconditional.
Hang on.
I'm using the life as a justifier.
So you're saying it's a biconditional in what way? That if there's
I'm saying
change,
that.
then it's
I'm saying that
physical.
time exists if and only if physical change exists. If this is the case, then I can use or I can support this by using inductively valid arguments or abductive cases in which everything that has been shown, or literally everything in existence that we do know of, is physical and goes through physical change. I mean, or
Well,
yeah,
I mean, obviously, I don't agree that everything we know of goes through physical change because I think we know mental stuff. But
that presupposes the mental stuff is distinct when it comes to the nature.
look,
So
I don't tie my notion of change or temporality to like physical stuff. I mean, yeah, of course, all that stuff changes and is temporal, right? Typically, but to say that something is temporal, perhaps all that requires is that it's different. Something is different at different times, right? And I don't see. There's just no reason to think that only the material things can satisfy that condition. Like I think we have different mental states at different times. If it turns out that the mental stuff is not material, then it's not some contradiction. We just found something else that, apart from the physical stuff, that can be different at different times since we change.
Okay, I think I already gave an argument for that. Also, temporality is just changed, or like I said. So I think we could just end it off there.
Yeah, but if temporality is just changed, then whatever changes is temporal. If material stuff changes, if non-material mental stuff changes, then they're both temporal.
Yeah, I know the
contradiction.
claim. Yeah, of course, I know the claim.
Okay.
Give an argument. Yeah. So, thanks for debating me. That was interesting.
Oh, okay. If you want to edit that, that's fine.
Yeah. Have a nice day, bro. Thanks.
Yeah. Okay. See ya.
Peace. Bridge. What the fuck? You got some... Hey, Bridge. I mean, not Bridge. Keo.
Bro, these IRL debaters are just not like that, bro.
Bro, what the fuck was I listening to, bro?
Did you hear that, bro?
Yo, what?
Oh my god, that was fun,
bro. It sounded like he didn't have an argument for anything.
Hey, y'all niggas done?
Yeah, we're done.
Yo,
Just said